like the person you are right now is disintegrating. You know, like piece by piece, you're falling apart, disassembling, maybe even disappearing. Along with that feeling, you may have had anxiety or fear or stress. Maybe your heart would beat faster sometimes, or your breath would come really short and shallow and quick. Maybe even your head hurt. Generally, you feel anxious as who you are, who you were, is transforming, transmuting into something new. When that happens, some people go as far as to say they believe they are actually falling into pieces and will cease to exist. They're going to disappear entirely. And the anxiety symptoms develop because they feel a real threat to their existence. If you've experienced that, you're suffering from disintegration anxiety. Maybe that's now or in the past, but that's what we call it. In the personal and spiritual growth world and in the psychological world, it's called disintegration anxiety. Recently, I went through a period of what would be called disintegration anxiety. I would be sitting here at my desk, suddenly my heart would be pounding a little harder and my breath would be coming very fast. It was like I almost couldn't catch my breath. And I felt this underlying stress all the time. Well, for 18 months or more, I have been on a personal and spiritual growth path. I have been working on me from the inside out. And I have been changing my mindsets, my habits, I've let go of anger and resentment. Besides that, of course, I had to, get a house ready to sell in California, sell that, move, buy a new house in New Mexico, move in, get settled. I've been throwing myself back into my writing and my identity as a writer. I've been shifting up my daily schedules. I'm meeting new people and have recommitted to my marriage, which is also changing. That relationship is changing. So for me, disintegration anxiety seems sort of like a given, right? But what is that really? What is disintegration anxiety? When we have these feelings of disintegration and anxiety that goes with it, that's disintegration anxiety. And the term refers to this feeling of extreme anxiety that your personality, your ego is falling to pieces or disintegrating into elements that are no longer connected together or no longer exist. There's a theory of positive disintegration, TPD, that is a very complex theory of personality development that was elaborated on or created by a man named K. Dabrowski quite a number of years ago. And he looked at symptoms of poor mental health and said they weren't always negative, that sometimes they were a process of somebody stepping into a better version of themselves. And I like that terminology better, not the negative, the poor mental health symptoms, but that disintegration anxiety is a process that lets individuals successfully navigate the difficult inner states that occur when we're growing to be the best version of ourselves, or maybe better said, it's part of the process of successfully navigating the inner states, challenging inner states that happen when we are transforming into a better version or the best version of ourselves. So as I was going through this process recently, I was in a coaching group and asked about it, what is disintegration anxiety, and we all decided in the group to just take a minute to kind of meditate on that and ask ourselves, our higher selves, our souls, our spirit guides, our intuition, what it meant. And even though I had asked the question, I was the first one to answer. And I said, I immediately heard the words, mind the gap. And I wrote a blog post on this and shot a video quite some time ago, probably a few years ago now, about mind the gap. And it's something that comes out of the UK in their subway system, the tubes. There are often signs on the platform that say mind the gap. And then when you're in the subway, when you get on the train, you'll hear it over the loudspeaker to mind the gap. Well, the gap is from between the platform and the train, right? You don't want to get your foot stuck in that gap, right? You want to step over the gap. And so interestingly enough, what I really got was that when we are feeling disintegration anxiety, it's because we're in the gap between who we were and who we're becoming. And if we fall into that gap, we have anxiety and we feel like we are disintegrating, right? That we are falling apart and that we might cease to exist. But if you can step over the gap, that doesn't happen. But for most of us, there is a time of being in the gap, I think. But I liked this idea of minding the gap or being in the gap between who you were versus who you're becoming much better than the idea of disintegration anxiety. And I would suggest we don't call it that. We don't need to give it a name that feels kind of negative and challenging, and we can actually see it as positive. I would actually call it transformation. That this disintegration anxiety is the period of time when we are actually transforming. And when that happens, there's a lot of energy running through us. So there is this energy of transformation, right? And the energy is running through us and we're uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable state. So the fast breathing, the heart pounding, all of that, what if it wasn't disintegration anxiety, but rather just energy moving through you, spirit moving through you, right? As you transform into the next best version of yourself. Even if you are in the gap between who you were and who you are to be, who you're becoming, you're in the energy of that, and it's a transformational experience. And so I propose that transformation has an energy and has, there is an experience of that period of time when we're actually changing, and that's what this disintegration anxiety is. Also, I think that besides just energy moving through the physical body, there's a spiritual energy. It's spirit moving through you at that time. And it happens more sometimes than others. And when you are actually transforming, I would say that the likelihood is there's more spiritual energy running through you as well, because we are we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So why wouldn't we both be feeling the physical energy as well as the spiritual energy running through us, right? So what do you do when you have these feelings that we call disintegration anxiety, or which I'm going to say are just the transformational experience? What do we do? I'm going to tell you what I've been doing, and hopefully you can apply that. One, so for me, it's more the odd breathing pattern that happens and than the beating heart. And so when that happens, or if your heart is beating fast or whatever, or you're feeling stress, which I do have that experience as well, I now will just allow it to happen, and I sit with it and I meditate in it and with it, and I just see where it takes me. So that's what I would suggest. Number one is that when you begin to feel that discomfort of transformation, just allow it. Don't fight it. When you fight it, it just becomes stronger. So just allow it and sit with it and meditate in it and on it and journal about it and see what comes up for you, okay? See whether you also don't pass through that experience faster because you're allowing it and not fighting it. Also, I would say develop a heightened awareness of that experience and of the fact that you are in that moment of discomfort and that moment of transformation. You are growing on a spiritual level and a human level. Because again, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So why wouldn't you be having the experience on both levels? I mean, this is why in the Inspired Creator community, I offer personal and spiritual growth, because we have both aspects, and there's no way for you to really experience transformation to the fullest extent unless you're working with both personal and spiritual growth. So the third thing, so we had, just allow the experience to happen and to sit with it, meditate on it, develop an awareness of this growth happening on a spiritual and human or personal level. And then the third thing is to embrace it. Just embrace it. If you're transforming, that's good news. That's why we're here. We're here to evolve and transform and to transmute into the highest version of ourselves. We are here to evolve and transform. And so embrace the experience. It goes to allowing it to happen, right? And then the last thing I would say, the fourth thing, is to feel gratitude for it. Feel gratitude that you are changing and evolving and transmuting and letting pieces of yourself go that you no longer need and stepping into the best version of yourself. Feel grateful that you are evolving, because that's what is happening. You're evolving. And like I said, that's why you're here. You're evolving, you're transforming, you're becoming who you're meant to be. And sometimes that requires losing pieces of ourselves or transmuting them. It's a bit like being an alchemist, taking some of the old and transforming it into something new, or taking two pieces of yourself and combining them and making them into something new, right? The alchemy of turning silver into gold, right? It's also a bit like being a magician, creating something out of nothing, out of the void that you create as you let parts of you that don't serve you any longer go. So something I teach in the Inspired Creator community is the Kabbalistic story of creation and how we apply that to creating what we want in our lives, because we're all creators. And so we have that spark of divinity within us, and you have to create a void. You have to create a space for something to happen, something new to come into being. So just like a magician saying abracadabra and out of thin air, something shows up. We let things go and we create a void where there's nothing. And then we create something new within it. But for that to happen, we have to let parts of ourselves go. We have to let go what does not serve us any longer. So for me, this disintegration anxiety, as I said, is just the transformational experience, the experience of transforming. And it can be a little uncomfortable, but we just allow it, we welcome it, we feel grateful for it, and we come out on the other side. When we step into the train taking us into the future, we become the new self, right? We go from who we were, who we've been, into who we are now going to be. And that's an exciting process, even if it's sometimes uncomfortable. So I'd love to know if you've ever experienced disintegration anxiety, how you dealt with it, or if any of the tips I just gave you are helping you with your transformational process, which I'd rather call it your transformational moments. So leave me a comment down below and let me know. I'm Nina Amir. I'm the Inspiration to Creation Coach. I am an intuitive transformational catalyst. So if transformation is what you're wanting, I would love to work with you. I'd be honored to work with you. You can check out the Inspired Creator community up above. It is where I help people go from where they are to where they want to be, from who they are, or I should say from where they are to where they want to go, and from who they are to who they want to be, without anything getting in the way. And what gets in the way is you. So we we work on moving you out of the way and allowing the process to happen. So if that's of interest to you, as I said, click above on the Inspired Creator Community. I offer personal growth in the form of certified high performance coaching and spiritual growth in the form of inspired results training and coaching. And that is where I take everything I know about personal and spiritual growth and offer it to you, as well as my intuition and guidance I get from the spiritual guidance I receive. So that's all part of it. You can work with me one-on-one as a certified high performance coach or an inspired results coach. You can reach out to me on my website to find out more. But if you're interested in group coaching in these ways, then click above. Until I talk to you next time, I hope you experience massive, pleasurable, exciting transformation, and that you achieve more inspired results.